Drop it.
So the idea of a foldable smartphone has been around for quite some time now, and we've seen some concepts from companies like Samsung and Lenovo, but that's all they've been so far, is just concepts, at least until now. We finally have a foldable smartphone that is real and is coming to market, and it's from a company that you probably wouldn't expect. It's made by ZTE and it's called the Axon M. Let's take a look. Before we dive deep into the foldable aspects of the Axon M, let's get all the standard smartphone stuff out of the way. Inside, the Axon M is going to be powered by a Snapdragon 821 processor and 4GB of RAM. Not exactly sure why ZTE did not go with the Snapdragon 835, but the 821 is still plenty powerful, so I don't think performance is going to be that much of an issue. It also comes with 64GB of internal storage and a micro SD card slot if you want to add more. And yes, the phone does have a headphone jack, but it's not water resistant like most phones that we've seen in 2017. I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that that might have something to do with the fact that it's foldable, but don't quote me on that. The power button on the Axon M lives on the side, and this also doubles as your fingerprint sensor. It's going to ship with Android Nougat out of the box, and it does have some customizations from ZTE, but for the most part, it feels pretty much like stock Android. No word as to when it'll get Oreo, but hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. It doesn't have the flashiest of designs since it's practically just a rectangle with sharp body lines, but it is made completely out of metal, so it does have a nice and sturdy feel to it. The fact that the Axon M is foldable is really what makes this phone special and a little bit different from everything else in 2017, but unlike a lot of those foldable concepts, the Axon M does not have a foldable display. Instead, it uses a hinge, sort of like a door hinge, and it utilizes two separate displays that can be joined together to give you a much larger screen when the phone is folded open. Both of the screens are 5.2-inch LCD panels with 1080p resolution, and having two screens on this phone does happen to make it quite thick at a little over 12 millimeters. The hinge on this phone also makes it feel a little awkward, I'm not gonna lie. It's not uncomfortable to hold by any means, but it definitely feels very different from any other phone out there right now. Because this phone has two screens, it's going to be pretty interesting to find out what battery life is going to be like. It has a 3180 milliamp hour battery inside, which is a decent size, but we'll have to wait and see if that's actually enough for a phone rocking two screens. So obviously with these two screens, you can combine them and use it as one big screen to give you sort of a tablet-like experience, but ZTE software lets you do a few other things as well. You can of course use just one display if you want, like any other normal smartphone, but you can also mirror the displays to show the exact same content, and because the phone is foldable, you can put the phone in a tent position and share content with your friends or family without having them uncomfortably huddle around you. Both screens can also be ran independently of each other, which is great for multitasking purposes, and because of this, the Axon M does not have regular split screen multitasking. As far as how apps scale when you're using it as one large screen, most apps will scale perfectly fine, but for the ones that don't, it's going to be up to the developers to update their apps, but ZTE does have software built in to force apps to rescale to the larger screen if they don't properly rescale on their own. Now, because this phone has two screens, it actually eliminates the need for a front-facing camera, and instead you only have one camera on this phone. The camera is 20 megapixels at f1.8, and when using it as a rear camera, it uses the screen on the opposite side of the camera as the viewfinder, and when it's being used as a front-facing camera, it uses the display that's on the same side as the camera. We've seen a lot of interesting designs in 2017, and I think the Axon M is definitely going to catch a lot of attention, but what do you guys think about the Axon M? Do you think foldable phones is going to be the next big trend in smartphones, or is this going to wind up as a failed gimmick? Let us know down in the comment section below, and if you want to know more about the Axon M, make sure to check out the written article, which is also linked down below, and give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel, which is also down below, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. And of course, check us out on social media: Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Google+, all that good stuff will be linked down below, and check the website as well, AndroidAuthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android.